Welcome back, everybody. This is your three-man booth. I'm Dan Salem with Phil of the Section 323 podcast. Bud is MIA, busy playing golf with Eli and Daniel Jones today.
Who knows? I'm going to attest it to. He couldn't stop the fact that the outcome of what he did Sunday.
Oh, I mean, it was expected, but still pretty terrible.
Listen, he's the one who said that Patriots were going to score 50, and I think if they didn't take out their
Yeah, they took out their starters, and I mean, the Jets defense got 2 touchdowns. Otherwise, it probably would have been a shutout.
They put Brady back in too, just to make sure that no funny business happened. But they actually put Brady back in, is what I read at least.
Oh, see, I had a built-in excuse not to watch, and it was probably for the better. It wasn't a good football game. And then we get a bye week, which is a win as a Jets fan.
So what did you do during the game on Sunday if you weren't watching?
I was in San Francisco, and I went to Alcatraz Island.
That was like a much better time.
So I was in prison, and that was better than watching the Jets play football. We'll start with the positive and Daniel Jones, because that must have been fun for you, even though there's definitely some bad omens on the Giants after the game.
That was before the game even started. I was like, I can sense a little bit of excitement going on, and that's anytime something new happens. And obviously, this is a big transition. So there's a little bit of excitement going into the game, and right off the bat, it just starts off. Tampa scores, boom, boom, boom. Actually, there were 6 booms because they scored on 6 consecutive drives. Every single drive in the first half was a touchdown or a field goal, and no answer.
Well, what changed for the Giants on defense? Because I know their defense obviously sucked in the first half of the game. What did they actually figure something out, or is Tampa Bay just kind of a bad team?
So I wrote that up in my synopsis this week, and I said. It happened last week, too, because if you remember when they played Buffalo was running all over them. Josh Allen was hitting John Brown whenever he wanted. Mike Evans had 174 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half. He could have easily gone over 200 if they kept feeding the ball. And then it's like a switch gets flipped. My question is, why isn't that switch being flipped in the first quarter? Let's figure this out a little faster and stop spotting teams 18-point leads. Because in both instances, in the Buffalo game and the Tampa Bay game, Buffalo, they scored a touchdown, but it should have been a field goal. They literally should have only given up 3 points in the entire second half of both games. That's incredible. Why the hell are you letting them score 28 points in the first half? There has to be some sort of balance here.
So, it's definitely a good thing that they made a great halftime adjustment and shut them down, right? And I mean, in football, there are no gimme wins, and just because Tampa Bay missed a field goal doesn't really take away anything from the Giants pulling out the victory.
No, we absolutely take it. I don't care how you get it.
But the fact that they got so far behind against a pretty average or below average team, I don't know if Buffalo's good. But Tampa Bay is not great. Now, they definitely got weapons.
Buffalo's 3-0, but they've beaten the Jets, the Giants, and Cincinnati. 3 teams were at the beginning of the season were not touted as being Super Bowl contenders.
That's 0-3, 0-3, 1-2. So
right.
Yeah, I don't know if Buffalo's much of anything. Now
they play the Patriots this week.
Yeah, so we'll see if their defense is actually what it's cracked up to be. I mean, the Jets should have beat Buffalo. The Giants were in a position to beat Buffalo. It could be argued if Daniel Jones was in there, they may have actually beaten them because he's a little bit more dynamic.
So to that point, I took some notes as I was watching the game because I wanted to make sure I touched on these. There was 3 plays that Daniel Jones made that I'm not sure Eli would have, only because he's just not, he's not a very fast mobile quarterback. Yeah. Sorry. He got out of a sack and ended up scoring a touchdown on that. There was one of them. The second one, he ran for his first touchdown. And then the third one has escaped me. I should know this because I read it before we got on. But there was 3 plays that basically he used his legs and got out of trouble and made 2 touchdowns out of them.
Well, I saw he ran for 2 scores. I'm like, Eli never run for a touchdown in his life unless he got pushed into the end zone. So
yeah, it's a dynamic that they haven't had in, let's just call it 10 years. Because I'm sure in the beginning of Eli's career, he was a lot more mobile. Right. And it's just that's not his thing. He's a pocket passer.
And I'll be honest. I mean, Sam Darnold had a great first game for the Jets last year, and I could tell we had something good with him. Now, he ended up getting hurt last season. The team was pretty bad, and it ended as you expect it to end. But it was on a positive note because he played well, and he looked good after coming back. And we haven't had him all season at full strength, which is part of the reason the Jets are so bad. I mean,
I'm convinced I'm convinced you would have beaten the Browns if he was under center. I will be to this day. No one can tell me differently.
And I think that if he wasn't sick, they would have hung on to beat Buffalo because he was playing through the illness, and they were winning in the first half, and then it kind of fell apart on him. I mean, Mosley went out obviously, but I mean, mono is completely a debilitating sickness. So like, it's unfortunate. Now we wish the best for Jones. You lost Barkley, which sucks because that's the ultimate safety net for your rookie quarterback is a great running back. Do you think the Giants are going to try to protect Jones while Barkley's out, or are they just going to like let it fly?
I think they're going to do whatever they did last week because he didn't have him for 3 quarters on Sunday, and he led an 18-point comeback, which was the largest in Giants history. So you got – going back for a second, at halftime it's 28-10, and I'm sitting there watching the game. I thought, there's no chance they're coming back in this game. It's already over, right? Yeah. And the very first play after halftime, he hits Ingram for a 75-yard touchdown, and all of a sudden an 18-point lead is down to 10. You're like, all right, now we're only down to 2 scores here. Right. And I never had that feeling after halftime that there was no chance.
Well, it's funny because I was following along as I'm touring Alcatraz. And so I see that the Tampa Bay's up 31, whatever it was, 24, 31, 25, 20, whatever it was. And I'm like, oh, Tampa Bay's got this in hand. There's only a few minutes left. And then I see the Giants took the lead. And then I see Tampa Bay has the ball in the red zone with like a minute to go. And it's like 32-31. I'm like, oh, well, they're definitely going to win. But then they still managed to lose.
So that final play that Daniel Jones scrambled, it was 4th and 5. I must have watched it 15 times already because it was Kenny Albert who was doing the game, so Mar's brother. And the excitement in his voice when he's like, if he could have cursed, he probably would have. And he's so Jones scores a touchdown. They go up by 1 after they kick the extra point. And now back to my original statement, which now is not true because also in the back of my mind, once they score that touchdown, I looked at the clock. There's a minute 16 left. That's an eternity. I said, there is no doubt in my mind right now they're going to march down the field and be in a position to kick a field goal. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened.
Well, and it's interesting because Tampa Bay missed 2 extra points in the game also.
1 was blocked.
Yeah, one was blocked. Okay.
Yeah.
Which ended up being the difference. And it's a game of inches. It's a game of single points this season because, the Jets lost by a point. They missed 2 extra points in the game too. The Giants, they're going to need to be a little better defensively to beat the Redskins.
A little.
Well, Washington's not a great team. And
They looked awful last night.
Yeah, they looked good, but then like I said, they made Mitch Trubisky look like Aaron Rodgers. I think I wrote that in my Spin Zone article because my brother also posed the Giants question in the Spin Zone article that's going up that we wrote about.
What was his question?
Well, he was kind of like, was this Giants game a net positive or a net negative for the team? Because the defense was so bad they lost Barkley, but then Jones comes in and he looks so good and kind of reinvigorates them. And he was like, was this a net positive for them or not? And we both kind of agreed because the quarterback's such a high-value position, it's a net positive. But ultimately, the defense didn't look very good. Are they really a playoff team? Because if not, you're only hurting your draft position. I think you want to be as good as you can be. But Washington may let Jones look really good, but the Giants are going to have to do something different defensively to stop the Redskins. Case Keenum should not walk all over them. There's just no way it's happening.
Well, so if Case Keenum does what he did against the Bears, where he threw a pick 6 and 2 other interceptions, I think he had 2 lost fumbles. I'm so surprised that Dwayne Haskins was not in that game last night, which leads me to believe they think he's not ready. So if you want to start making the comparison between Jones and Haskins about who the Giants should have taken, who was better in the draft, why is Jones starting and Haskins not? Maybe it's a little bit of circumstance.
Yeah.
But when a guy's ready, he's ready. And from what we saw from Case Keenum, as I told Bud last week, Keenum's the next guy on the chopping block here.
Yeah, well, I know from experience, the only reason you keep a quarterback on the bench is because the coaches don't believe he's going to make them look good on the field. The Jets never put in Christian Hackenberg because they knew.
Well, they knew.
They knew. And he shouldn't be on the field. And so if Haskins was ready, he'd be in right now because Washington's not playing very well. And they said he's not playing this week either. So he must.
Which blows my mind. From what I saw last night, if Eli did that and he had that performance with a pick 6, 2 fumbles, and 2 interceptions, he would have been shoved out of town. It's amazing the market you're in makes such a huge difference.
Well, it's funny because you think that Gruden in Washington is legitimately on the hot seat. And so why not play your rookie? Like, unless unless he's protecting him for the future so he doesn't get any of this flack. I mean,
you know,
I don't know.
Oh, no. So, I mean, maybe they'll use the excuse that what's the left tackle's name? Trent Williams, I think that's his name, the one who's not reporting to the team. I don't know if you're going to use that as an excuse. But don't forget, Alex Smith is still on this team.
Oh, right.
He's still there. He's rehabbing. He's nowhere near to play. He's still on the team. So what happens next year when he's healthy?
Yeah, I mean, he'll start if he's better than Haskins.
It's a legitimate question. So it just goes back to my point about everyone was like, oh, the Giants should have picked Haskins. Well, Daniel Jones just put up 360 yards and 4 touchdowns while Haskins is sitting on the bench doing nothing.
I mean, everybody thinks they're the genius after the draft when they have no information to go off of.
Speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up because I almost forgot to mention it. I actually saw about 5 or 6 – there was an article. I saw about 5 or 6 tweets that they put together of all the people that were like, I was wrong. I'm sorry. But thank God, because I've been saying this for – how long have I been saying this for?
Oh, yeah.
I was so happy to see that. And I listen to a whole bunch of different shows. Unfortunately, I don't get the New York, the WFAN where I am in Connecticut. But all the national people that were like, I was wrong. I was like, thank you. It was just validation for all the people that gave him such crap for so many months. And they're like, wow, we were wrong.
I guess it's got to be that there really is a strong New York bias towards the media because –
there's no doubt about that.
Why else would you hammer the Giants for their pick? It really wasn't that bad. So, it was just weird. It was so weird that they came on him so hard. And
because the claim was, why did you pick him at 6 when you could have got him at 17? I don't believe it then. I don't believe that now.
Right. Well, that's just stupid logic.
It's completely stupid. There's no doubt in my mind. But now you see what he did on Sunday. And everyone's like, holy crap. Maybe I know Gettleman's smug and I know he's arrogant. I hope he's there sipping his whatever he drinks and just has a smile on his face.
So I want to roll it back to the draft before when the Jets got Darnold because I was thrilled that they got Darnold and I thought Mayfield was a little overhyped at the draft. Browns took him number 1. I also couldn't believe Lamar Jackson fell all the way to the Ravens and I thought the Dolphins should have picked him and he fell to the Ravens and the Ravens just scooped him up. And he is a stud for them.
The Ravens traded into this first round. The Ravens traded into the back because I was convinced the Giants were going to pick him because they had the number 2 pick in the second round. Okay. I was convinced they were going to take Lamar Jackson until the Ravens came and scooped him up.
Thank you for correcting me because I thought Jackson, they were touting 5 quarterbacks that draft, and then Jackson kind of just became an afterthought. And then the Steelers grabbed Mason Rudolph later, who was, I think he was the 5th, who is now the starter. And, I mean, he didn't look terrible, but Rosen's not playing. Josh Allen's obviously doing well. Sam Darnold's out 6, so we don't really know what he's going to be. I mean, year one's always tells lies for quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield is making a lot of rookie mistakes. He is rushing his passes. I think he's looking down his receivers and he's just trying to force the ball to be the king, right? And I just want to face palm,
So there was a stat on this, and
he's not using his weapons. He's not using them well at all.
Well, so here's something interesting, and I don't have the exact numbers to back up this up, but I know I saw this. When he got rid of the ball in 2 seconds or under, his completion percentage was up here. When he took more than 2 seconds to throw the ball, it was plummeted down to the bottom. It was staggering. 2 seconds is not a lot of time.
No. Well, one of the things
if he's not throwing quick slants and dump offs, he has. Well, I know he has no time because his offensive line sucks, but he can't get the ball down the field.
Well, I would say we'll have to watch for Daniel Jones how he handles this. But one of the things I've liked about Darnold is that he throws the ball away. He doesn't hold on to it. Young quarterbacks hold on to the football. Luke Falk, who came in for Darnold, was just holding on to the football, wanting to make the throw. And it's you got to know after that 3 to 5 seconds, after the 2 seconds, you're up, you better make a play or throw it away. Throwing the ball.
Is Darnold considered a mobile, running quarterback or not really? I don't think he is, but I could be wrong.
He's not considered a mobile quarterback, but he scrambles really well. He's actually one of the better quarterbacks throwing on the run. So, he can roll out of the pocket and throw it, and his completion percentage is really high when he's ad-libbing. So he was very good at ad-libbing and when it breaks down. And so they just don't have a good offensive line. That is a huge advantage for them. But I thought Mayfield was good with that too. And obviously the numbers don't speak to it. And I was just –
You want to know something? The Giants and the Browns have the exact same record right now.
Yeah, and
let that sink in for a moment. Overrated.
Well, they ran Greg Williams out of town, right? Who was very good as their head coach last year and had their defense at tip-top form, and their defense is taking a step back without him. Now, I'm not saying the Jets have not shown great defense yet, but they got 2 defensive touchdowns against the Patriots handicapped. They had none of their starting linebackers in the game. Every one of their starting linebackers was out. Every single one of them against the Patriots. And they still managed to put up 14 points on Tom Brady at the defense. Like
they were 23 and a half point favorites, and it looked like for a moment they were just going to roll past that. But it's funny, once it got to 23, it just kind of went on cruise control. And you're right, they got up to 30, but they won by 16.
I'm sure the Patriots dialed it back. But my point is, the Jets are so handicapped right now from an injury standpoint that it's looking for some of the positives. And I see the positives on defense where they're actually doing some good things in spite of themselves. The offense has been just atrocious. And I really think it's because they don't have their starting quarterback in there. And obviously they didn't have a viable backup. And when you don't have a good offensive line, it's just all falls apart.
I know if Bud was here right now, he'd be saying that they're giving Bell the ball way too much and they're relying on him way too much.
Well, they are, and I think he wants the ball, but they also, I'm not sure they have another option right now until Darnold comes back. And he's supposed to.
Where's Robbie Anderson?
You got to get him the football, right?
Yeah.
And then you need a quarterback that can get it to him. And while Luke Falk is passable, he was on their practice squad. He did get cut. Like nobody wanted him as their backup.
Yeah. Luckily you have a bye this week, and Darnold comes back in 2 weeks. So
he should come back for the Eagles game, and the Eagles look super vulnerable. I'm not impressed with Philadelphia at all this season. Like that is a very winnable game for the Jets. If Mosley's back and Darnold's back, and they come in at full strength, it's a very winnable football game. The Eagles should be healthy then too, but
maybe because they play Thursday night, and Alshon Jeffrey's hurt, and Deshaun Jackson's hurt. They got someone else that's may or may not play. They're going to be 1-3 after Thursday night when they play Green Bay.
They should be, yeah. So I knew this coming into the season that the Jets had a very hard month and a half to start the season, and then now based on how teams have performed, they have the easiest schedule after facing the Patriots for the second time. They have the easiest schedule. So it is extremely conceivable with a healthy football team that they rattle off 8 straight wins if they're playing subpar teams. Like if with Mosley in there, they were a completely different team on defense. We only got to see that for a half of football. And at half, they shut out the Bills. We're up 16-0. And the offense hadn't really figured it out yet. And then I think fatigue took Darnold down, and the team just couldn't get anything going. We haven't seen the Jets. Bud's hammering them, and I get it. But we haven't seen them at their best. Like the team that came into the season on paper, we haven't watched for more than a half of football. And that half of football, they won 16-0. I don't know what this team is. I'm excited for the potential. And now they could just – right now they're all the way down here. See this? They're down here off the screen. Like they're all the way down in the hole. I'd say Adam Gase is on the hot seat, except it's his first year. They're going to give him a little more time. But they only can go up. And I don't see any reason to believe they won't.
Well, that's the advantage you have on playing the Eagles when Darnold comes back, because they're going to come into this game thinking, oh, it's the Jets. But Darnold's going to be back. Hopefully, all your linebackers are going to be back. Bell's going to be back. The offensive line gets an extra week to prepare. That's where you surprise the team.
So now,
I want to see it. Believe me, I want to see beat Philadelphia. Believe me.
I know you do. Well, because the Giants are looking like they could be the second best team in the NFC East right now. Cowboys look pretty damn good. I'm going to slow the roll on this because it's September. And September football is so phony. And it's possible the Cowboys aren't what they look like. But
they also have played the Giants with their bad defense. I can't defend it. The Redskins and Miami. That's who they've played so far.
They played 3 terrible defenses. And they didn't exactly – they beat all 3 pretty handily. But those are – I'll be honest. The Giants before Daniel Jones were terrible. The Giants with Daniel Jones could be a halfway decent team.
And that's what I'm saying. That's the excitement. We don't know. So
they're likely to escape September 2-2, which is a huge win for them.
Hey, I'm going to be there on Sunday, so I'll give you a firsthand accountability for what I see.
Now, what's their schedule look like after September? Is it hard? Is it easy now based on how teams are performing? Do you know?
So I don't know the exact order, but I believe after week 4, I think week 5 they play Minnesota. Then week 6 they play the Patriots on Thursday night. Then I think Detroit or Arizona is up next.
So Detroit's no pushover, and Minnesota's got a good defense, but Minnesota's offense is
but Minnesota's defense is really, really good, really good.
Now I want to roll this back for a second. I've seen all these Kirk Cousins game manager articles. How happy am I that the Jets didn't pay Kirk Cousins all that money? Oh my goodness. I mean, the Giants are paying for Eli, the backup, but they're paying for Kirk Cousins that doesn't really get anything done starter. And so, I don't know.
Wasn't there an ESPN 30 for 30, or there was some article, or maybe it was a quick – there was something on that whole process. And Kirk Cousins was like, it was between the Jets and Minnesota. And he's like, well, I'm going to go to Minnesota. So you're right. You dodged a bullet on that one.
Well, and I'm getting hammered in fantasy with Stephon Diggs on my team. He's putting up nothing. Like, my wide receiver –
throwing the ball. Everything goes through Dalvin Cook.
He got nothing. And I got Atlanta, Calvin Ridley, who had 2 good weeks, and then he got no looks last week either. I got crushed in fantasy last week from my wide receivers. They got no looks.
Yeah, I have Ridley too, and that's not going to be the norm, I think.
I hope not, but I don't want to. But I can't start Diggs. I was scrambling for a replacement because I don't trust him. Like, he's a bench player now. I kept him from last season because he was so good. Kirk Cousins is killing me not throwing him the football. And
it's almost like they don't want him to throw the ball. Again, everything goes through that running game, and Dalvin Cook's a friggin' monster right now.
Yeah, I mean they're winning. They're winning without Cousins doing much of anything, which is hilarious. I mean, anybody could basically be there that doesn't turn the football over, and they'd be winning. So
it'll be fun. So after next week's episode, show, we can go because the season will be a quarter over, and we can kind of see what's real and what's not real after the first 4 weeks of the season.
Because it's amazing how many teams are currently undefeated or winless. There's very few teams like the Giants that are 2-1 or 1-2. There are so many at the extremes right now.
Right.
So some of those teams that are 3-0 are going to fall back and be losers. And some of the teams that are 0-3, at least a couple of them, because there's way too many, are going to end up with 8-8 records or 9-7 records. It's just going to happen because there's too many on the extremes. So we should run through it and try to pick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing the difference between being 1-2 and 0-3 for the most part, because you think, oh, now you're 3 games behind, but it's such a psychological difference getting that 1 win under your belt as opposed to being winless.
Well, and I still kind of like Jacksonville this season, especially with the way their rookie quarterback's been playing, and they got that 1 win, which was huge for them. And so
Gardner Minshew, but he is all over the place now.
He's playing better than Nick Foles. And they paid Nick Foles all that money. I mean, I knew it. It was the same with Cousins and with Foles. It's like these guys had great defenses to support their playmaking ability, and then they cashed in. And all more power to them. But these teams that overpaid for them, like, if you drafted Minshew and you thought he was any good, why pay Foles? I don't get it.
Because they didn't – what they take him in the – they took him in the 6th round or 5th. I forget where they took him. But
just a lucky break. Yeah, maybe it's a lucky break.
Absolutely could be, but to look at the Giants side of the house now you're playing Daniel Jones on a rookie contract. Saquon Barkley's still on a rookie contract.
Yeah.
Some of that offensive line is so you have. Gettleman's doing it the right way.
Yeah.
You're built. He may have done it backwards because normally you get the quarterback first and then you get the running back, but he got the running back because in his eyes, all 4 of those guys last year. He wasn't in love with, right? So he took a gamble, took Barkley, and ended up finding someone that he liked this year.
He basically tossed away a season, but then you get to draft Jones because of it. So it was win-win.
Right. So if it works out that way, and I pray it does, then it's completely all worth it. But we're not going to know that for a few years now.
I assumed Jones would come in by October 1st, and he came in much earlier. And I really saw the Giants as a real serious 8-8 threat, and they still look like they need to do something better to be better than 8-8. And if the defense continues to play this badly, they'll probably be worse than 8-8. But I mean, 8-8's a real possibility now, and that's
after 2 weeks. I would have said take the under on that. But
yeah,
it's amazing what 1 week actually does. It's incredible.
And because they stole a victory, which they shouldn't have had against Tampa Bay, that totally puts them on the positive side of the wild card situation because they got a game they shouldn't have. And you need those 2 wins. That's the difference. I mean, 9-7 often makes the playoffs as a wild card team. That's this game that they just lucked into victory.
Yeah, and I saw Saquon Barkley's getting a second opinion on his ankle sprain. So 4 to 8 weeks is a very broad range of time. So
it is. He shouldn't rush back. But
I agree with.
If the Giants somehow win, if the Giants have a winning record after 4 weeks, I understand why he wants to come back sooner than later. I get it.
But I'm thinking maybe because he's so young and his legs are the size of tree trunks, and maybe the guys that are younger and more athletic heal faster than people that are on the older side that might take the full 8 weeks. I don't know. I don't even know what a ankle sprain really even is. But
what's your message that injured players should be allowed to take HGH to heal fast?
They should. What's the competitive advantage to get back on the field? I don't know. It's
rules.
I don't see the problem with it, but that'll never fly.
Well, the reason I was so disappointed in the Jets' 1-point loss week 1 was because that could be the difference of making or missing the wild card spot. Now, since then, they've looked terrible. But because they have an easy schedule, that one game could come back to haunt them. And so hopefully it actually does matter. But
well, hopefully that black cloud you have over the franchise goes away because, you would have beaten the Browns, so you could have been 2-0 going into that Patriot game.
Well, and I'll be honest, I'm not feeling the black cloud personally because of 2 things. Because of the number of key players injured and because it's September.
Well, that's what I mean, but all the injuries plus Darnold getting sick out of nowhere. And then remember last week or 2 weeks ago, Bell was getting an MRI in his shoulder. You're like, what the hell is going on here? It ended up being nothing. But it's just
I mean, I wish Adam Gase's offense looked better. I mean, I expect more from him in his offense. I can only see it improving. It's been so terrible, and that's supposed to be his bread and butter. I can only imagine it's going to improve. I mean, it's just, they would have beat Cleveland. They should have beat Buffalo, but they didn't. They're 0-3. I mean,
but they didn't. But you're not. But now you're sitting at 0-3. Now it's a long hill to climb.
But this bye week is perfectly timed. I mean, they're only going to be 0-3 out of September. They're not going to be 0-4.
It really is because the most times you think, wow, the first bye week sucks. It's so early. This was actually perfect for you guys because it gives Darnold one more week to recover. That actually worked out.
No.
By luck.
They absolutely have to beat Philadelphia to make the playoffs. If they lose to the Eagles, they can't. There's no. I mean, 0-4. They got Dallas and the Patriots coming up. They're not going to make the playoffs. But if they beat the Eagles, I mean, that puts them on the positive side because they have a win. And like I said, 9-7 is probably going to make the playoffs in both leagues this year. The teams are all just too bunched together. They're just too close together. I mean, the Patriots stand out, right? And I guess the Rams stand out. Anybody else?
Green Bay's playing very well.
Bay. Yeah, I mean, I pegged them as a worst to first, even though they technically weren't in worst last season. They are playing really, really good football. You're right. And the Lions are looking pretty good too. I mean, I don't know if they actually are, but
I don't. They're 2-0-1, and they beat was it the Chargers 2 weeks ago? I think it was the Chargers. So we're iffy on the Chargers, and then they beat Philadelphia, but they tied with Arizona too.
Yeah,
let's not forget that.
Kansas City, their defense is bad again, and so I really think they should have hammered on the Ravens, who I don't have a read on the Ravens yet either because they haven't beaten anybody good. But Kansas City
is our only hope to dethrone the Patriots in the AFC right now.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Houston has not shown me enough. Now, again, because it's only September, Houston could come around. Hell, the Jaguars could even elevate up. These teams with good defenses could really come around and lock down and really shoot up the standings. But yeah, I don't believe in Buffalo. I don't believe in the Chargers right now. So you're right. I really think it's Kansas City.
It is. I think it is.
Dethrone the Patriots. I need a Super Bowl without the Patriots in it. They've been in 3 out of 4. I really need this. It's not looking good, but I really need it.
At least they finally got the bit of bad news. Well, I shouldn't say it's not bad news. They're the ones who released Antonio Brown, but it's finally something happened that wasn't so perfect for them, right?
Yeah, well, they have a couple of linemen on IR, and I don't know if it really mattered against the Jets, but it couldn't matter down the rest of the season here. A couple of their offensive linemen are out. Doesn't make headlines, but
no, and it never will, though.
Well, and so I saw a headline. I like that you brought up Antonio Brown because this is super interesting. We probably should just talk about it because how can we not? So I'm not surprised the Patriots cut bait because they don't want to constantly be answering questions, right? I saw he signed with he went back to school at Central Michigan. Was that the correct headline I read? Is he going to go play college football? What is he doing?
Your guess is I didn't see that one, so now I'm interested. I'm going to have to go check that out. He can't play college football.
I don't know why. I mean, why not? If he didn't play for all 4 years, he has eligibility left.
That would be incredible.
Technically, he does, right? And they're signing the new laws that allow for endorsements.
Could you imagine that?
This dude just wants to stay in the headlines. Now, there are obviously teams that are going to be interested, but they are trying to wait and see.
What team is going to take a chance on that? He already got cut twice, and he went to the team that we all.
We lost. A little bit. There we go.
Oh, I'm here. He went to the team that we all thought he was going to go to anyway because they didn't need him in the first place. They couldn't handle him. What are they?
Yeah.
What makes any other team think that they can handle him?
I know. I don't think any team would, and I think he's suing the Patriots to make sure he gets paid. Even though I don't know. I mean, I don't know what grounds they cut him on, but he technically didn't do anything wrong. He didn't break the law. Did he have conduct detrimental to the team?
Well, no, yeah. They just didn't want to deal with it.
Right, but so they have to pay him, and if they're
not going to.
Well, that's why he's suing them.
Right.
Which is very interesting. I liked that he made that move because it's the Patriots. I wouldn't care if anyone. I'm happy the Patriots get sued over that.
So did you watch any football this weekend, or were you taking the tour of Alcatraz?
Oh, so in the morning before we went, I watched. So I was in San Francisco in the hotel room. So the Chargers Ravens game was on, and not Chargers. The Chiefs Ravens game was on. So I was watching that, and that was like two evenly matched teams, but I lost a little confidence in both teams because of it. Like I felt like I couldn't tell if either was actually really good or if they were both a little worse than we thought. It was hard to say.
Well, Baltimore has one of the top 5 defenses in the league, but they still didn't really. They just slowed down Mahomes. They didn't really stop him.
Right. Well, we say that, but part of the reason they're ranked so highly is because of the Miami game. So, and they didn't play any. Who they play week 2? It wasn't an team. So
I don't remember off the top of my head, but
they get Cleveland this week, and they should.
I can't wait.
They should shut them down. They should shut them down. I can't wait. I mean, I would like to see them steamroll through.
I think it's in Baltimore because I think it's in Baltimore.
You'll like this. We're doing a suicide pool, right? And basically, it's been 2 weeks now so there's been a few teams eliminated because people took chances in week 2 stupidly, but there's a possibility that people could pretty much back the team playing Miami all season long, and we're going to be the final week of the season with almost every single person left.
You're right. So everyone thinks that that's a great strategy, and it probably is, but everyone's going to do it. So you're right. It's almost going to be a really Miami. You have to pray Miami catches a team off guard, or because they play the Jets twice and they play the Bills twice. So you're hoping maybe they catch one of them.
You can't pick against Miami every week because they play those teams twice.
Right. You can't do it.
I already picked New England when they played Miami, and I picked Dallas when they played Miami. My dad's in the suicide pool, and he's picked whoever team's playing the Redskins every week, and he's been successful on that too, which is funny. It's interesting. A little more.
Tell him not just to be safe. Don't do that this week because we don't know.
Well, he's a Giants fan, so I don't think he will. I think he already made his pick. I think he picked the Rams this week, so it's fun. But I'm amazed we're in week 4, and there are just so many people left because there's such a couple of really, really bad teams that are easy to pick against. I may pick the Chargers this week against Miami just because the Chargers should hammer on the Dolphins. They absolutely should.
So the Chargers are 16-point favorites on the road in Miami.
Miami has not lost by fewer than 16 yet.
I know, but that's a lot of points to lay on the road regardless.
I know. When they had to travel across the country, which doesn't bode well for them. They haven't fared well.
And they haven't been playing that well, let's be honest.
No, I mean, they almost beat Houston, but Houston's looked up and down also. That I had to see the end of that game, too, because it switched to it.
Yeah.
That was.
I don't know. I think it feels like one of those games where they probably will – Miami probably won't win. But there's a small chance that they could catch the Chargers. Yeah. West Coast team traveling to the East Coast. Yeah. They're not playing all that great. I don't know. I don't know who else.
I don't trust those big spreads. I mean, I last week I went 2-0, so I pick get 2 games against the spread each week, and I went 1-1, 0-2, 2-0. So last week I backed the Rams because they were only -3 against Cleveland. I loved that pick.
Yeah, good pick.
That one right. I hesitate to go the big spreads. They generally burn you, and that one's too big. I agree.
Well, the Patriots one burned everybody.
Oh yeah. I mean, but I saw that one coming. I mean, it's a division rival. Like, it just seemed unlikely that they would absolutely get blown out off the field. It's not like the Jets aren't Miami. The media is making them off like that, but they're absolutely not Miami. They're not the Redskins either. They have a lot more talent. Talent isn't on the field. So, I mean, I don't know if Bud feels good about being right so far, or he feels terrible that he's right. But he has been right.
I'll ask him as soon as we boot up the next podcast here.
So I gotta wonder, why are Daniel Jones and Eli Manning playing golf on Tuesday? They have a game to prepare for. What was this about? Because Bud works at a golf course.
It's a day off.
They play. Why would they have a day off on a Tuesday? They got a game.
Well, they probably had practice in the morning.
So there's all this stuff in people's contracts about you can't play basketball, you can't go skiing, but they'll let them play golf.
I don't think golf is.
They're quarterbacks. Rotator.
Yeah, there's no. I don't know. You're not going to get hurt swinging a golf club. Okay. When's the last time you heard of someone gotten hurt swinging a golf club?
That'd be really bad luck. It would definitely be bad luck, but it seems consistently that they're playing golf midweek, and I just like you're asking for trouble.
Hey, maybe you're just taking everything chill and not putting too much pressure on yourself.
Now, the fact that those two guys are playing golf together after one stole the other's job, that bodes very well for the Giants because that's a good locker room there.
In the end, and listen, I will be an Eli guy to the very end. He gave us 15 years and 2 Super Bowls. I wonder if he's relieved from not having to look over his shoulder anymore. He knows the Giants gave him, I forget the number, 20. Let's just call it $20 million this year. I think everyone kind of assumed that he wasn't going to play the whole year. So he's like, wow, they gave me $20 million because now he's going to be in the mentor side, which, let's be honest, him and Peyton run that quarterback camp every year.
Yeah.
They do that all the time for all these guys. So it's almost like a natural progression.
Was that like a Super Bowl bonus? I mean, they didn't have to pay him that much. He would have stayed for
No, they didn't. You're right. So there's a couple of analysts like, wow, Eli should be pissed. I can't believe they did so much. The flip side should be, wow, they didn't have to give me $20 million. They're doing me a favor.
All I got to say is, for a mediocre quarterback, because he was never great in the regular season, he has had a tremendous career. He was never a good regular season quarterback. I think the 2 years the Giants won the Super Bowl, they were 9-7.
Basically.
Or maybe they were 10-6 one year. But he's never been like, wow, during the regular season. He's always done just enough. He's had a tremendous career. For him to be able to hand it off and and mentor this guy, and that's I don't know what else he would ask for except for going out on a Super Bowl victory.
So I think we're probably at time, but I will leave everyone with this. The last time the Patriots were undefeated, and they could be undefeated this year, the Giants started out 0-2 and got a miracle win in Game 3. It happened to be against the Redskins, and they made a defensive stand on the goal line, essentially. Could you – I know it's very far-fetched, but could you imagine the Patriots go undefeated, the Giants sneak into the playoffs, and Daniel Jones knocks them off? I could – listen, this is storybook over
right?
here, buddy.
Well, I think the Giants were 9-7 that year. And
they snuck into the playoffs.
And 9-7 is completely within reach in both leagues right now for the wild card, because nobody like I said, nobody's overly impressive outside of a couple teams at the very top.
It's very unrealistic, but I'd love to see that.
It was unrealistic then, and then it was unrealistic for them to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl that year too. They needed Odell Beckham. Now, so I will say, Beckham was impressive to watch when I saw him. He had a one-handed catch against the Jets. He burned him for the touchdown. But has he really brought anything to the Browns? Like, they are not using him one bit. Not one bit.
Nope. And I wonder how long it's going to take before he gets frustrated.
Yeah. Oh, I'm wondering how many weeks it is until some coach gets fired. We're getting close to coaches getting fired here in the NFL too.
Usually after the first 3 or 4 weeks, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'll be there Sunday. I'll give everyone a first-hand account of what I see, and that place is going to be rocking on Sunday. I know it.
And the Jets are not going to lose. So they are not.
As Bud says, it's the best week because you can't lose.
He's such a case. All right, thanks. This has been a good show.
All right, we'll talk soon. Bye.
Thanks for watching BuzzChomp.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.